of acting in Australia, the home of Geoffrey Rush, Kate Blanchett, to name but a few. I hope I'm right, Terry, in naming those big names. I think
Baz Luhrmann, yeah,
Baz
just dropping
Luhrmann,
those
Rose
names,
Byrne, I think was there.
Yeah.
The biggest names on the world stage, and she's going to run us through an interactive presentation on pitching with impact and using your voice and your body to actually impact the room. A little something to give you when you are pitching for business, that competitive edge over your peers. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Terri, and I'll keep my mouth quiet.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's a real pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Okay, pitching with impact. So this is going to be a conversation. This is not me just talking at you. I really encourage you to throw things in the chat. You're welcome to put your screen on and say things if you want to, but chat's fine. I really want to hear from you because I want to make sure the information I'm giving you is relevant to the questions you might have. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you, if you might, tell me what your biggest challenges are with pitching. Now, these could be your challenges or these could be your agencies. What are you seeing that you think you're not doing so great at? So I'm going to give you a little bit of time. You're welcome to put some stuff in the chat. Obviously, it can be, anonymous. We don't need to know who's maybe not doing so great, but put something in there. And in the meantime, I'm going to actually tell you a little story. And this story is actually my story. And I was working in an agency. So as Sam said, I've worked in agencies before in my previous life. So I'm very familiar with the pitching kind of process and how huge it is and how important it is to agencies and the huge kind of risks that you take when you actually walk into those rooms. So we did a huge pitch to an FMCG company. There was a lot riding on this business, a lot of money. And we kind of went all out, as I'm sure you do with these as well. So I'm just going to put my timer on so I know how much time I've got. I just realized I didn't press start. There we go. So we spent weeks on this pitch. We spent time, energy, just so much of everything. And we were very, very happy with the pitch. This was a creative agency, so we were incredibly thrilled with the ideas we came up with. We thought it was just, everything was on par. We were just like, we're on point. We're going to do this. This is fantastic. It comes the day of the meeting. 2 MDs are in the room. They have so much kind of energy and ego around it. We think we're going to nail it. We get in the room. Now, I'm in the room. I didn't actually present that day. I was a little bit more junior. And I sat back and I observed what went on. And the client was a little reserved. She was a little bit sitting back. Her energy wasn't the same as the MDs. Those MDs went for it. And the more she kind of sat back, the more their energies levels raised. They were almost trying to get her to raise to their energy versus the other way around. Anyway, we thought we nailed it. We loved our ideas. She seemed to be happy, we guessed. We walked out and we kind of, high fives all around. And we kind of thought we'd done a great job. We didn't win the pitch. And to be honest with you, the business was absolutely gutted and couldn't understand it. But in talking to her, what we didn't know was that earlier that week, Woolworths had delisted and deregistered some of her products. So she was actually very stressed. There'd been a big change to the business, but no one in that meeting had connected with her to understand what was going on, why her energy was different. No one had actually asked her any questions that would have enabled her to talk to us. Literally, all we'd done is talked at her. And I reflect on that a lot, actually, in my role now, and kind of go, there's a lot to be learned from that. And I'm going to teach you some of that today. I'm going to give you just some insights of how to think about your pitches and what you bring to those meetings. So I've got here, so Adam has said the time invested in the pitch and improving conversion. And then also things like a few different strategies when a lead is getting a bit cold. So these are interesting. So I'm actually really focused on when you're actually in the pitch and ensuring that that pitch goes as well as possible. Improving conversion is really, really important. And I think I'll talk to that a bit today. So I just want to start with a question. What percentage does everyone think that communication are the words that you speak? So if you've got the words that you speak, you've got how to use your voice, how to use your body, what percentage do you think words that we speak play in that? 20%, 10%, 40, 25, 20, 60, love it. Okay. Did you know it's 7%? What we say is 7% of how we communicate. 38% is our voice, how our voice is projected, the speed in which we talk, how we raise the energy of our voice, etc. And 55% is our bodies. Now, when you think about a pitch, how much do you spend on the pitch and the actual presentation and the words and the strategy? 100% of the time, right? No one actually thinks about the energy they bring into the room. And you could actually be impacting that pitch just by the way you're actually delivering your voice and your body. So that's something to think about. And I want to kind of challenge our kind of thoughts around that, because we do spend a lot of time on the words, and we don't focus on the other areas that could actually be giving us away. So Sam mentioned, I'll just quickly recap, it's the National Institute of Dramatic Art. We have been going for 60 years, and for 30 of those, we set up a social enterprise, which is the NIDA Corporate Training Division. We train thousands of individuals from Australia's top organisations, including government departments, and we teach about communication, presentation and leadership, and the importance of how you use your whole body to actually communicate and to influence, to get impact, to persuade, and to help with things like this, which are really, really important, things like pitches. And the reason we succeed so well is a couple of things. We're all about immersive learning. So we don't just sit in a room with a whiteboard and, people sit at desks and take notes. We get people up and moving and actually embody the techniques in which we teach. And it's what we teach our actors. So we teach the actors how to use gravitas and presence and confidence so that their body and voice matches their words. And we've had incredible success over the years, and we continue to have that. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of some tips and some things to think about when next you are pitching. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is self-awareness. When I reflect upon my story and I watch those two MDs talk, they had no self-awareness. They actually had no idea of how their energy and the way they talked was actually coming across to our client. So this is something you can do before your presentation or just as it started. But really just think about things for a second. And the kind of things you want to think about is, what is my energy level? Is it laid back? Is it casual? Is it heightened and animated and over the top, which can happen in a pitch because we have lack of sleep and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars resting on getting this right. So you can sometimes be too animated and too overexcited. So what is the energy I'm bringing, and is it the right energy? The second thing I'll get you to think about is gestures. Now, I'm sure all of you know somebody who talks with their hands all the time. Or like this all the time. And that's okay, but is it distracting from the message? Or is it adding to it? Is it showing nerves? Or is it showing confidence? Another great thing to think about is actually eye contact. So when I reflect back on the story I told you, the agency that client actually went to, she mentioned to me that she connected to our team, that she connected with that agency. And what does that mean? Well, you can do that through things like eye contact. So again, reflect on yourself. Are you making too much eye contact? Is it a little uncomfortable and creepy? Or perhaps could you be making more eye contact and looking at people more in their eyes and connecting with people? Eye contact is a really, really important way to build rapport, but a lot of people do still feel uncomfortable with it, but it is something you can practice. And I do encourage you before pitches to practice. Often we do pitches right up until the last minute, but if you can practice and see what it feels like to actually connect with people in the room, it's invaluable. The other thing too is your vocal agility. So I'm sure that you know people who are very monotone and who talk like this, or people who, when they're nervous, they speak too fast, or they mumble. So just think about your voice. Are you nervous? Is it coming out? Am I changing my vocal tone so that I don't leave everyone asleep in their seats? So think about these things. And like I said, you can do this before as you practice, or you might like to do this as you start to work on your pitch. All of these things will inadvertently either allow you or not allow you to connect with your client and your audience. And that can make or break a deal. I'm sure, like me, you've seen that a client has gone with another agency, not based on ideas, but based on connection and relationship. And these are the sorts of things that actually build that. When we do training at NIDA Corporate Training, we work with building people's self-awareness. And the reason we do that is so that they can make choices about their communication style so that it matches whatever situation they're in. We do things like looking at power. So you might have someone who's a CEO being presented to by an account manager, but you can also work on things like status, where that account manager can actually change the way in which they present themselves in a meeting. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. We do also work on nerves. People get nervous when they pitch, and that comes out in all different ways. Some people get really red necks, some people's voice wavers, some people speak too fast. We work on those kind of things as well, and there's some fantastic techniques. So I would like to take a little bit of self-reflection, if that's okay. And again, this is interactive. I do want you to be able to kind of come back at me with some of your thoughts. Can you think of a moment where you've been in a pitch where something happened and you saw it either play out well or play out badly? So someone changed something or did something and you watched that play out. Has anyone ever experienced that? And that could be both good or bad. I'm interested to see if anyone's had that happen to them. So I'll just give you a few seconds and we can see what if anyone says anything. It's an interesting one because I think in a lot of pitches, we are so focused on pushing and just kind of saying, you know, this is us, this is us, this is why you need us, that we often don't reflect and we don't sit back. I haven't got any answers yet, so I'll keep going, but by all means, pop them in there and I can address them. Here we go. Someone asks, so what do you think? Super optimistically at the end of a really bad meeting. Oh gosh, okay. And knowing that someone's supposed to say to that if they don't think it's great. The prospects were 70 minutes late for the meeting and our team lost its energy. Oh, horrendous. In actual fact, you probably need to move it, because if you've lost your energy, you're bringing that to the meeting now, right? Disjointed handover from one presenter to the next, not smooth and seamless. 100%. And again, that comes down to practice. So I think that's what we do. We put so much energy. I mean, I've been in presentations where there's a 100-page slide deck, and what we don't leave for is time to actually play that through and feel like what that feels like for the audience. So I'd probably, you know, cut back about 30 slides and the time that is needed on that, and actually see if you can actually practice. Someone said skip some slides, played out well. Excellent. So you're reading the room and you've gone, hey, we're not going to do that. We don't have time for that. That's fantastic. Excellent. Tech issues with setting up make it awkward. Oh my God, tech issues are the worst. Again, sometimes got to get there early and ensure that's fine. Client stands up and walks around the room mid-pitch. I wonder why they did that. That's very fascinating. What an interesting play. I wonder whether they're doing that to stretch themselves, or is it a bit of an ego thing, kind of, you know, getting their kind of gravitas out there. It's interesting though, when these things happen, they can either throw you, or you can actually say, hey, let's just take a break for a sec. Does anyone need to go to the bathroom? Do we need to, you know, have a pause? Sometimes actually taking a break in the moment, even if you're thrown, can actually really help to just reset the energy. Again, also ask the client, are you okay? How's it going? How are you feeling? Is there anything we've talked about that you've got questions about? You know, are we okay to keep going? And sometimes just a little reset is really, really helpful. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next point. And this is what I like to call it's about them, it's not about you. I have been in so many pitches where all the agency does, and I generally believe that we have changed in the industry, but I know this still happens, where we just go in and we talk at them about how great our agency is. Here's our team, here's what we do, this is what we stand by, this is our strategy, this is our this is us, this is us, this is us. And we lack that time to really kind of connect with them and actually make it about them. Building rapport. Have we asked them enough questions? How's their week going? Has there been any changes in their business since we've spoken? How's this process going? Taking breaks and ensuring they're okay. Keep in mind, with that 100-slide deck, that's a lot for somebody to take in. And often we don't pause to give them that real time to do that. Now, I've heard someone told me that when you speak to children, you should give them 7 seconds from when you stop talking to allow them to take that information in. All right? So let me just do that because 7 seconds is quite a lot. So I'm going to tell you something. That's a lot of uncomfortable silence. But that's sometimes how much time people need to actually digest what you're saying. And it might be worth thinking about, do you need everything in that presentation? Or can you take some out to allow space so that the client can digest? So that's also the way you talk, is if you've ever seen very, very good presenters, and I'd love anyone to tell me a good presenter that they've seen, whether that's someone they know or someone who's famous. What is it about them that you liked? What do they do that makes it engaging? So interestingly here, Craig has said, to the last question, I just need to share this, it's very funny. Sorry, Craig. My Garmin alarm going off telling me I had a high or erratic heartbeat simply told them that this is obviously important to me. That's an excellent response. But yeah, thanks, Garmin. Like often it's other things in our bodies that do it, but now technology also tells them we're nervous. Thank you. I think the other thing too, and this isn't necessarily a NIDA thing, but one of the things I've seen is when we do pitch presentations, everything's branded our agency, just the whole thing. And as I've been both a client and agency side, and I can tell you what I love is seeing a presentation that has all the client branding over it from start to finish. Doesn't even need to have anything on it that is remotely your branding. I mean, they're seeing you, experiencing you, they know your business. There's something quite comforting in that. It says you get me, you understand me, and you really, get what I'm trying to do. So there's some sort of things to do. So I'm just checking again, has anyone seen a really good presenter and can recognize what they've done well or how they present? I'll leave that for a second. So I just want to reflect again. So really pitching, doing all the pitch is very, very important. Obviously the strategy, the media schedules, what kind of media you're recommending, all of that is integral. That doesn't change. But if you can't connect and build rapport with your audience, sometimes all of that can be wasted. Okay, Sam has said John Laws is a good presenter because he pauses. Yeah, he does. He often will say something and allow people time to reflect. Barack Obama, he actually does the same. So he's been trained, not by us, unfortunately, by someone who's very similar to us, who's a voice coach, and he uses a lot of pauses to, again, enable reflection and for people to take in what he says. Someone says presenting standing up, not sitting down. 100%. There's a very different energy you give when you're standing than when you're sitting. It also changes your status. So you kind of have a higher status than your audience, which is what you want. From our industry, it says Dan on height, great energy, authentic and entertaining. Fantastic. I love that too. So that's, again, it's those kind of things. It's like, what energy are people bringing into the room, and can you use that for your pitching? One of the things I want us all to reflect on, I'll just give you some time. You don't have to write notes, but have you ever seen the difference between someone who's pitching where they're talking at the clients versus someone who talks with the clients? And if you have, how have you noticed that's different, and has it worked? I think it's really important to engage with people in order to be able to ensure that they trust you, they have confidence, they know that if there's going to be a difficult conversation, that they can have that with you. That if they don't agree with your media strategy, that they can talk it out, and you can come to an agreement. All of those qualities are generally what people are looking for. Obviously, they want an amazing kind of media strategy. That goes without saying. But without the relationship, none of that actually matters. So this is why we need to think about the kind of energy and the things we bring into the room, because that sets us up for the way the relationship is going to go thereafter. So I'm just going to, oh, here we go. I've just got some more things. Maz speaks, relates her points to a personal story to keep it interesting. Absolutely. Personal story is fantastic. In actual fact, we do courses about influential storytelling, and you can either tell a personal story, a public story, or someone else's story. So a public story might be about a business or something that's out in the public domain. You might tell a story of a friend who's done something, or a colleague, or you can tell a personal story. But it does really impact how you can provide context to why it is that you're standing up in front of people and actually talking. And that's an interesting one to do. In a pitch, you're talking about generally products or services that you're trying to sell. Generally speaking, people have experienced those products or services. So why not talk about what it's like to be a customer or consumer? Here we go. The bit we struggle with is getting the mix of sizzle versus sausage. Sorry, never heard that before. In our presentation, we pride ourselves on our attention to detail to show we understand the client's needs, but it could be over the top. Is there a balance? Yes, you see, we see this a lot actually, not just in this industry, but a lot of industries where people are very data heavy, very experts in what they know, can go very, very deep, but we try and train them to pull up, because the audience doesn't have that same knowledge and expertise, and sometimes doesn't want to know it. So you can leave that in a leave behind that says, we know our shit, but presenting it is not always necessary. And you can always reflect on it. Say to the client, you know what, we've got all that information, we can give it to you a handover, but we won't talk it through today because it's not integral. I think you've got to think about what are the key messages that you want to get across, and those are generally at the top level versus at the bottom. Here we go. Nicholas says, what has worked well? Asking each person in the room what is the most important thing that they are looking for from the presentation ensures that the presentation and presenter is aligning with that, as the previous brief makes. Excellent, Nicholas. Excellent. And this is in relation to the story I told, where we didn't do that at the agency I was at. We just kind of railroaded in and threw a whole heap of stuff at a client, and they had actually gone through some serious changes in their business, and we didn't recognize that. So that's fantastic. And I think that's about keeping it more like a conversation. And again, like I said before, when we have agencies and clients, these are relationships. And what a client wants to know is whether they can connect. And if the first experience of that, or one of the first experiences of that, is at the pitch, what are you doing to connect with them? And it's not just asking them about their weekend. It's about, how do you share ideas, strategies, and thoughts with them in a way that they feel safe, that they can ask questions, that they can push back, that you will listen to them and be heard. And it starts with your pitch. It starts with how you engage with them, with your body, with your voice, as well as your words. So we're at about 11:27, and I know we've got about 15 minutes. Before I go on, I just want to ask, Is there anything else that you would like to know around how to kind of pitch with impact? Pop that in the chat box. That's absolutely not a problem. Some of the things we do at NIDA Corporate is about, getting your body ready and getting your voice ready so that we don't have the nerves. It's about practicing over and over again. It's about developing a story. So again, when I was talking before, it's like, how are we going to connect with the audience? How are we going to, provide a personal story or a story about our customers or consumers that will really engage and show we've got expertise? We also look at, general communication. How is our body and voice turning up when we're talking to people so that they can connect with us? So all of those things are very, very important. So here we go. When presenting interstate or overseas, how do we make a video presentation impactful? That's a very good question. So there are techniques that we actually do an online course around this. There's techniques like making sure your camera, my hand's there, making sure your camera's at the right height. You have to actually give more energy to an online presentation, and that's exhausting, but that actually is necessary because it gets lost through the screen. I would also say be very, very careful when you're showing slides because what do you want people to focus on? I've chosen today purposely not to have slides because I wanted to show my energy and I wanted people to engage with me. Even though I can't see your faces, it's important for me to connect that way. If I had slides, you would most likely be going to them and reading them. So it is very challenging. You've got to decide, is slides necessary? And if so, keep them to an absolute minimum. Literally just one idea on a slide, one thought. And you're going to have to bring a lot of energy and look for a lot of engagement when you're doing things online. So how can you ask questions? Can you do a poll? Can you get people to put their hands up? Again, just to keep people kind of engaged and excited. Judith says here, what is the best way to present to a large team where everyone has a say in the outcome, but there is still one or two main decision makers? That's interesting. So this is actually something I've kind of experienced lately, where I was talking strategy and I had big key kind of themes which were not going to change. But then what I did was got their feedback on how we could make those big themes come to life. So, and also myself and two others actually knew the outcomes that we wanted. So we just talked generally and planted some seeds, but really we wanted to hear from everybody. But we wanted to kind of, I guess you kind of want to manage that process a little bit in a safer way. So again, having headings and kind of key themes is important, and then allowing people to provide their input under that, I think, can help direct. Seth Godwin. Someone's provided Seth Godwin's bad PowerPoint slides. I used to also run a presentation design agency, so I'm very familiar with all the things you can do wrong. The biggest thing when you do presentations is cut back. Even when you present in person, people actually cannot focus both on you and what you've written on the slides. And what they'll tend to do is go to the slides. So if everyone's looking at the slides and reading a whole heap of copy, they're not listening to you. And people worry about taking stuff out of slides because they're worried that they'll miss something. But you can always follow up with the client with the written version. We used to always do that, have one for presentation and one for leave behind, and literally have one idea up on the slide and then they'll be engaged with you. Again, we go back to this thing. If you want your clients to connect with you, which is the key to building that relationship, they need to be looking and engaging with you, not at your slides. It's kind of the antithesis of what we're taught. We spend so much time on slides, but the reality is they can actually break a really good pitch. So Stephen says, if content is 7%, then slides should be less relevant. You said it. That's actually true. Slides are really should only be used to direct what you're going to say. To say, now we're just going to talk about the strategy. Now we're going to talk about the media plans. Now we're going to talk about our media partners. Now we're going to talk about the team. It shouldn't be the thing. You shouldn't use it as a crutch. It's nerve-wracking to actually go into a pitch that way. But I highly recommend it because it will make the difference between just that connection is integral. And you're right, this is the thing. We spend so much time on the words, but actually they're not that important, weirdly. So yes, I would really rethink that as a strategy. So we've got a few minutes left to go. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of us and kind of what we do a little bit more. So everything we do is about experiential learning. And most of the things we do are in the room. That's the way we like to learn, but we do online courses, and we've also got self-directed training as well. That's fantastic. We don't try and make people cookie cutters. We're not going to try and make people Barack Obama. We like everyone to be authentically themselves. So that's really, really keen. We have people in the room who are really junior and really senior, and everyone elevates to the level in which they're right. I'm also very keen to share with you that we have an offer that is just for the IMAA members. And there's two things. So the first thing we've got is a product called Prologue by NIDA. Oh, thanks, Sam. Sam's clapping. Prologue by NIDA is a self-directed course. This is an amazing communication course for your Gen Z or millennial staff who might be challenged with communication. A lot of them have been doing uni online. They communicate with their thumbs. And this is a fantastic, fantastic course. It's actually a book and an app. And we're giving it to IMAA members for $500, and that's down from nearly $700. So if you go onto our website, corporate website, NIDA Corporate website, and you use the code IMAA24, and I'm pretty sure Sam can probably, and the team can follow up with this after, you can use that. We've also got, if you want to do one of our in-person courses, if you book one course, you can get a second course half price. So again, the code is IMAA24, and I'm sure, like I said, Sam might follow something up with that after to do that. Any questions, anything I can answer you, anything you want to talk about as we finish up?
And so often there isn't sometimes. So what we can do is also connect you afterwards. What we'll do is share that on the leadership thread and also in the next newsletter as well. Terri Martin, thank you so much for that, for sharing a little bit of what you guys do. It's fascinating. I think there's so much of the craft of what we do in media that relies on the way that we present ourselves. And I think if you can nail that, it stems through every single facet of your life. So absolutely fascinating, and always interesting to hear what you're up to. And would love to continue these conversations into 2025. Thank you very much for the offer. We'll share that with the members and also put it into the IMAA deals. Pitching with impact, your voice and body. Thank you to NIDA, and thank you to Terri. Thank you to all the members for tuning in. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.